Hey, it's Bob Harris, Senior Editor of FootballDiehards.com. Time for your Week 6 injury preview, review, update, and overview. The thing we like to do every Saturday to help you get up to speed. All at one time, heading into Sunday, let you know what kind of lineup decisions you're going to have to make, what kind of decisions have already been made for you injury-wise as we prepare for Sunday's round of games. We've got buys this week. The Lions, Raiders, Titans, and Texans all out this week, so get those players out of your lineups right now. And we'll dive into the injury situations. As always, I'm doing this at about 1:30 Eastern time, so there will be things that change. So watch this video, then go out and check the late-breaking updates section of the site or the staff rankings. For all the latest information, anything that changes will be there. If you go to the rankings and the guy that you think should be a starter for you is ranked down at the bottom and it says out, well, you know what's going on, right? But you can also click on the link there and get the latest information and more in-depth information than what I'm about to give you here. This will set the table for all that, though. And as always, I'll do this chronologically, start with the early afternoon window in through the evening and let you know what's going on and what you need to watch for Monday. The big news, of course, Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. The Colts are hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars in Indy. Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, both Taylor missed last week's game. Hines was hurt on the first play as he filled in. Had a concussion. Taylor and Hines have been ruled out. They were listed as questionable initially on Friday, ruled out on Saturday. So that decision is made for you. You won't have to worry about them being a last-minute scratch. They're already scratched. So Deion Jackson and Phillip Lindsay move up in the rotation. I thought Jackson was serviceable. Lindsay, wouldn't be forcing either of them into lineups, but if you're in an emergency, go ahead and go for it. On the other side of the ball, Zay Jones and Marvin Jones Jr. both listed as questionable, ankle and hamstring. Jones Jr. was added to the injury report on Friday. That's never a good sign, so that'll be one to watch as we head into Sunday's games. For the Baltimore Ravens at the New York Giants, Justice Hill is listed as doubtful, seems unlikely to play. Same injury, he sidelined him last week. Kenyon Drake will move up in the rotation behind J.K. Dobbins again if that's the case, and it seems like it will. Decisions made on Rashad Bateman. He's been ruled out. Devin Duvernay, same foot injury that sidelined him last week. Devin Duvernay moves into the wide receiver 1 role. Demarcus Robinson, Tylan Wallace, James Prochet move up in the rotation. Maybe see a little more Isaiah Likely as well. Mark Andrews remains the de facto wide receiver 1 for that team. On the other side of the ball, no surprises here. Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney ruled out with the same knee and hamstring issues that have been plaguing them for the last couple weeks. Wan'Dale Robinson listed as questionable. Seems like he has a chance this week. The local observers say the team is optimistic that they'll see him. Once he's worked into the mix, I think he'll be an interesting player to watch. Saquon Barkley had a shoulder injury. He's fine off the final injury report, as is Daniel Jones. So everybody else there is good to go. On the other side of the ball, or in New Orleans, is hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. T. Higgins and Hayden Hurst for the Bengals listed as questionable. We saw how that worked out for T. Higgins last week. He was questionable going into that game, had practiced on a limited basis all week and only played 10 snaps. Never really heard if it was a setback or if something happened or if it just didn't feel right. Whatever the case, he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday this week. Took part in the walkthrough on Friday, so he got the questionable designation. This one seems a little risky. Hurst has been playing through his injury and a questionable designation since week 3 in Dallas, so expecting him to play, he's been pretty effective there. On the other side of the ball there, Jameis Winston will not start. He's listed as questionable, but Andy Dalton named the starter already. Jarvis Landry, Michael Thomas ruled out. Deontay Harty ruled out. So Chris Olave listed as questionable. If you saw last week's game, he suffered a concussion. Looked like he was actually knocked unconscious in that game. But he's close to being cleared. He was on the practice field Thursday and Friday to some degree, so that'll be one to watch going into the game. Obviously, Taysom Hill coming off a huge game, Alvin Kamara. They might be heavily relied on once again in this game, especially with these other pieces out. The Miami Dolphins will host the Minnesota Vikings. And they'll do it with obviously no Tua Tagovailoa. He has been cleared out of the concussion protocol as of Saturday morning. They expect him to start week 7 against Pittsburgh, but he won't play this week. And neither will Teddy Bridgewater unless something happens to starter Skylar Thompson. The rookie quarterback will get the start in this one. Bridgewater also cleared this morning. He will serve as the quarterback too after a week of not a lot of preparation. Durham Smythe also listed as questionable for this game with a hamstring. And most importantly, Raheem Mostert listed as questionable. He has said he will play. He's been very busy the last couple of weeks. Looks like he's kind of established himself in the lead role in this backfield. Good play against Minnesota in a reasonable matchup if he is active as expected. On the other side of the ball there, Alexander Madison is questionable with a shoulder injury. It's a great matchup for Dalvin Cook, especially if Madison isn't there to nibble at his workload. So we'll see. I'm not sure that he's going to be inactive. I mean, nobody's forcing Madison into lineups with Cook healthy and locked in and facing a good matchup, but might give you a little more confidence in Cook if that's the case. The New England Patriots are in Cleveland. And Nelson Aguilar ruled out on Saturday, originally listed as questionable, has the hamstring issue. That leaves Mac Jones, Damian Harris, and Jacoby Myers all listed as questionable. Mac Jones seems truly questionable. Bailey Zappi will start if he doesn't. Damian Harris, the reporting initially after he hurt his hamstring was that he would miss multiple games, maybe up to 4 weeks with his hamstring injury. He's still listed as questionable. We don't really have a good feel for this one, so watch that. Ramondre Stevenson looks like a great play in a super plus matchup here against Cleveland that just gave up 170 plus rushing yards to Austin Eckler, and they've been easy to run against all season. So good matchup for Ramondre Stevenson, especially if there's no Damian Harris. Jacoby Myers has been playing extremely well too. My guess is he's probably on the more probable side of questionable, but again, you'll have to watch all of these in the 90 minutes leading up to kickoff, and we'll have that on the website, of course. So check back for that. For Cleveland, everyone's off the injury report, and Amari Cooper's at home. Might be some hopes for him. He seems to be faring really well at home and horribly on the road, right? Atlanta hosting the San Francisco 49ers. Everyone's good for San Francisco. Robbie Gould off the injury report. They have some issues on the defensive side of the ball, but nothing with the skill players at this point. Tyrion Davis-Price off the injury report. So we'll see if he can cut into Tevin Coleman's running back 2 workload there. Jeffrey Wilson remains locked in as the running back 1. Kyle Pitts, questionable this week. Seems like he will play. He has been limited all week. I don't know that I'd be forcing him into lineups, but my guess is he'll be available. So a viable play if active, obviously. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, everybody, for the most part, came off the injury report, except Julio Jones. He remains, he's listed as doubtful for this one. Don't expect him to play. They talked about this earlier this week, how they view him as a long-term asset. Someone maybe they'll lean on as we get down the stretch and into the playoffs, so they're not going to push him back into action. But everyone else basically came off the injury report. Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, Jalen Darden. Cameron Brate's off the injury report as well, suffered the concussion 2 weeks ago. So all good there. Pat Freiermuth on the other side of the ball is ruled out with a concussion. Everyone else off the injury report. Deontay Johnson had a little hip issue. Look, this is a really good matchup for the Buccaneers. Not so great for people like Najee Harris, especially who struggled a little bit. Jalen Warren getting a little more run. Kenny Pickett, the starting quarterback, now might be slinging it again in this one. The Green Bay Packers are taking on the New York Jets in Green Bay. Christian Watson has been ruled out of this game. May end up on IR, the rookie receiver for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is dealing with a thumb injury. He came off the injury report at the end of the week. Not clear if he'll play with some tape on his hand or not, but he will. And everyone on the Jets in good shape on the offensive skill side of the equation there. That takes us into the Sunday's late afternoon kickoff window, where we have the Bills and Chiefs. That's a very exciting game, and it looks like pretty much everyone is going to play. Harrison Butker, the kicker off the injury report. Dawson Knox ready to go in this one as well, so good news there. Isaiah McKenzie cleared in addition. Knox worked on a limited basis all week, but came off the injury report anyway, so has foot and hip issues, so that's worth noting. And everyone on the Chiefs, again, is good to go. That brings us to the Panthers at Rams, where things get weird, right? Baker Mayfield, not the weird part. He's doubtful with an ankle injury. P.J. Walker is going to get the start there. Robbie Anderson came down with an illness. He is listed as questionable, seems likely to play. P.J. Walker will start at the start at quarterback, as I mentioned, with Mayfield out. Sam Darnold's still a week or two away. It's a mess there. They fired their head coach this week, too, if you haven't been following along. Matt Rule is out, so Steve Wilkes takes over as the interim coach. The weird stuff comes in Los Angeles, where Cam Akers was ruled out on Friday. This is due to a personal matter. Sounds like he and the team are at odds. Seems likely that a parting of ways is coming, whether it's via trade or whatever. So Darrell Henderson moves in the starting lineup. You'll see some Malcolm Brown as well. So just tough call. But adding to the intrigue there, Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee both listed as questionable. This is a late afternoon kickoff. Seems likely both will play. Sean McVay has hinted they'll both play. Both players have said they intend to play, so may have just been maintenance issues, but that's something to watch with the late afternoon kickoff. For the Arizona Cardinals, going to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Rashad Penny, of course, his season is over. He's finally placed on IR. Some minor issues at wide receiver, Marquise Goodwin, etc. But Kenneth Walker takes over with Penny out at running back. For the Cardinals, James Conner is ruled out. Darrell Williams is ruled out. Jonathan Ward is placed on IR. Eno Benjamin will be your starting running back. Keontae Ingram behind him. They may elevate. Check the upgrades section. They sign Corey Clement and Tyson Williams to their practice squad. They may elevate one or both of those for some depth, but it's the Eno Benjamin show. Also, Matt Prater, the kicker, will not kick. Matt Amendola will continue to fill in for him. Sunday Night Football, we have the Cowboys and Eagles. For the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb was added as questionable to the injury report on Friday. Nobody seems too concerned about his availability. Todd Archer from ESPN is reporting he will play. Dak Prescott was listed as questionable as opposed to being ruled out. Nobody expects him to play. Cooper Rush is set to start. Mike McCarthy has said all along that Dak Prescott will need to get in a full week of practice before he's moved into starter. He did not get in a full week of practice, so don't get too excited there. Rico Dowdle, the running back, has been ruled out of that game. On the Philly side of the ball, everyone's good to go, including kicker Jake Elliott, who missed last week's game, but is back this week. Monday Night Football, players to watch, and the injury report will come out probably shortly after I record this video, so we'll have a little more clarity. But Melvin Gordon and Eric Saubert both been limited in practice this week. Russell Wilson has the neck issue. He went to full participation on Friday, so it seems like he'll be good to go as well. Gordon is the player to watch here. I think he'll play. Mike Boone also dealing with a little bit of a foot issue. He practiced fully Friday, so guessing he'll be set for this one as well. But expect Russell Wilson to play. Melvin Gordon is a player to watch before you dial him in. On the other side of the ball, the same goes with Keenan Allen and Dustin Hopkins, wide receiver and kicker. We saw Hopkins miss last week's game. Seems like he's on a better track. Keenan Allen talked a little bit on Friday, suggested he didn't think he was going to play. He's been working on a limited basis. We'll get a little more clarity on that, but be cautious before you insert him into lineups. It's a Monday night kickoff. Even if he's questionable or you expect him to play, you'll want to have a fallback just in case. All right, everybody, that's it. Good luck in week 6. Hope you're faring well. Remember, the bye week teams, get them out of your lineups. Lions, Raiders, Titans, and Texans. And I'll talk to you next week. Good luck.